down into the state, be really, really concentrated in that way is amazing. So thank you so much. And I'm going to start out by saying, all right, ArtsVote 2024, our Make Your Vote Count campaign. So we launched this campaign here at the Arts Action Fund every 2 years with artwork designed by renowned artist Shepard Fairey, who has done the Obama Hope poster, the Kamala Harris Forward poster that he just published. And I know he's also working with Ohio creative organizations. And I think Sarah and Jill might talk about that a little bit later. But this campaign is designed to encourage creatives and arts and culture organizations across the country to spread the message to vote, but also to make it count. So next slide. This year, we've created our ArtsVote 2024 Election Resource Hub, which houses all of our federal election materials, tools, events, and more. And you can explore that at the link on the screen. Also, when you head to the 2024 Election Resource Hub, you'll see that the campaign is comprised of 3 main actions that are meant to empower voters nationwide to make their vote count. And we try to make that as clear as possible with that Action 1, Action 2, Action 3. Some of the most important things is our Action 1 and Action 2, and Action 3 is all about sharing what you've done with the campaign. So Action 1 is taking the ArtsVote pledge. So by taking this pledge, you are ensuring personally that you'll download your state voter fact sheet and follow the detailed steps for your state. And number 2 is to vote as early as your state allows. And in doing this, you're making sure that your vote is counted on election day. I've gotten the question when talking about this, why are we asking people to do things early when there's deadlines? Well, every state is so different. And you're working with people, if you are submitting an application to vote by absentee, there's a lot of process steps there and waiting on people to send you things back. So we just think it's so important to make sure you're doing all of that as early as you possibly can. So next slide, please. Once you finish taking that pledge, you'll gain access to the Shepard Fairey ArtsVote social media images, and we encourage you to celebrate being part of a national movement by sharing these images on your website, social media platforms. I even have it in my email signature, so it's more in the minds day to day of my networks. And this helps people be influenced to make their vote count too. If you want to collaborate with us directly, you can become an ArtsVote State Voter Fact Sheet partner. And what that means is I will personally customize our ArtsVote materials for your organization. Next slide, please. Excuse me. Our State Voter Fact Sheets are the heart and soul of our ArtsVote campaign. And it's your all-in-one document that takes you step by step through voting in your state. So on the screen, you see the Ohio State Voter Fact Sheet and the State Voter Fact Sheet deadlines for voting in your state, as well as this beautiful Navy voter graphic, which we make for all of our partners. You'll see in the top right-hand corner, the Creative Ohio logo, and in the bottom right, the ArtsVote Ohio logo. So thank you all for being partners with us as well. So these fact sheets take you step by step through voting in your state, and it covers everything from registering to vote all the way to casting your vote. And every state's election laws are very different, so we really encourage you to download that sheet and check those dates, links, and more to make sure that your schedule and you are prepared to follow that schedule. You'll see in red, like I said earlier, we really encourage you taking these steps as early as you can, and that's what that red line is emphasizing.
And Morgan, I'll just...
Oh, you're on mute, Jill.
Oh, sorry. This fact sheet is available also on the ArtsVote Ohio website.
Yes, absolutely. Just as a last thing, on September 5th, we hosted our own ArtsVote 2024 How to Get Out the Vote webinar, where we invited guest speakers from across the country to talk about those different voting laws and talk about how other states are galvanizing their communities to vote. And Sarah Sisser was actually an amazing, amazing guest. So thank you for being a part of that and representing Ohio. And we really encourage you to take a look at that on our website. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Morgan. We so appreciate knowing more about what's happening at the federal level, at the national level. We appreciate Morgan and Nina and the Arts Action Fund's partnership and their leadership in this space. We are going to now drill down a little bit to the state of Ohio specifically. And we do know that all of our voting laws are just a little bit different in each state, that there are a lot of nuances, and we want to make sure that people understand how and when to vote. And we have with us Elizabeth Warner from League of Women Voters. They have been a great partner in helping us with their ample experience in the space of voter engagement and their vast network throughout the state of Ohio. We are learning from them as they have been in this space for much longer than we have. And we're happy to hear from Elizabeth today a little bit more about voter law, voter engagement, specifically in the state of Ohio. Elizabeth?
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you so much for letting me come today. I'm Elizabeth Warner. I lead communications for the League of Women Voters of Ohio. We are a nonpartisan grassroots organization that has been working to protect and expand voting rights and ensure that everyone is represented in our democracy. And we've been doing this for over 100 years in the United States. We work to empower voters and defend democracy. And we use education, advocacy, and litigation at the local, state, and national levels. And so these are all the same things that you all are talking about, right? Except maybe litigation, which I very much hope that you don't ever have to do. It is a pretty vital part of our work right now, but I think we would all really rather not rely on the courts to protect our democracy. So I highly recommend that you all skip that and just focus on the education and advocacy to inspire and support voters. And you can adapt all of these approaches that I'm going to talk about in a second into how you use your work to connect with voters. And we can go to the next slide. So education, kind of a broad generic strategy, probably everyone says this. Here's what it means to us. So we want to be a trusted source for civic information. And so this means publicly advocating for all voters. We are aggressively nonpartisan, which means that we do not oppose or support candidates, elected officials, or political parties. We are here to serve everybody, and we would not be able to do that if we showed a preference for one party or politician above another. This also means be right. When the information that we are providing could mean the difference between someone voting and someone being shut out from voting, we need to know what we're talking about. So this is a plea to you all when you are doing work to please fact check anything that you share, especially things like deadlines and what voters need to cast their vote. You all mentioned the voting laws, and Ohio has a lot of them, and some of them are pretty new, especially around photo ID. And so those are things that we want to be talking about a lot, and we want to make sure that what we're saying is the right thing. We also want to promote the connection between voting and just real life. So I think voting can feel kind of abstract. And so when you are kind of preaching about how, voting is our duty, it feels pretty hollow unless you can kind of help link the impact created by elected officials onto what happens in our everyday lives. So, things like senators approve federal judges and they decide whether we go to war or not. Mayors decide whether to spend our taxes on schools or streets or police salaries. So all of these things impact our lives significantly. So we need to talk about how to make it real for people. And we always want to provide accessible materials to voters. And this means creating materials that can be understood by broad groups of voters, and then getting it actually physically in front of them too. So lots of people don't vote because they don't trust their understanding of what's going on and they feel like they don't know enough. And also because the information that they need to be a successful voter is literally out of reach. Just as an aside, design is super important here. Words, I'm a big fan of, really important. But the way a piece of literature, a website page, a form is designed really makes a big difference in how people feel about interacting with it. So just a thing to keep in mind, which I know you probably already know and have strong feelings about. We also work to connect communities with opportunities for civic engagement. And so hosting voter registration events or creating events that just bring people out. So empowering teachers and businesses and absolutely artists to be the bridge between information and voters, all of that is really important. And then we also offer tools to combat mis and disinformation, which I think is one of the most concerning things that are happening in the world generally, but absolutely in the election space. And so the first goal that we have is to spread important, useful, true information, but not far behind that is equipping voters with the skills and resources to be able to tell the difference between what's true and what is definitely not true. And then we can go to the next slide. And so advocacy, education is how we serve voters directly. Advocacy is how we serve voters outside of league to voter services. So advocating is kind of the long game. I think if education is planting seeds, advocacy is building houses. We advocate for voters in the legislature by lobbying lawmakers and testifying on behalf of lawmakers, or sorry, of voters in the state house. We also advocate for voters when we lift up voices of diverse and often historically underrepresented communities like voters with disabilities or new American voters or Black voters. And we organize to amplify our own voices. We work really hard to grow our ranks so that we have more people to support our voters in Ohio. And then we extend our organizing by collaborating with diverse organizations who share the same goals and values that we have, but that can deliver these shared messages to different audiences. And finally, we are pretty mouthy. We get loud about all of this. We communicate in all of the spaces that we possibly could. So member to member, league to other league, on our social channels, in the media, through our partners, all of the things. And then next slide, please. I wanted to share this. So this is our Your Voice, Your Vote, Your Power tour. And I wanted to share this as an example of the way a lot of the kind of elements that I just talked about are coming together. So right now we are driving an Airstream trailer around to 17 Ohio campuses to register voters and to provide information about how and why they should vote. And so we're on the road from now until October 7th, which is the last day of voter registration. So definitely mark your calendars for the October 7th date. To pull this off in a pretty short amount of time, not to like pat myself on the back, but we are pretty impressive, is how I'm feeling at this moment. We leveraged our 124-year-old legacy as neutral, trusted providers of voter education to get access to these colleges and to get community leaders that we have built relationships with for many, many years to help us promote these events. And same thing with getting the media to cover this. We have relationships with lots of really strong, important state house and political reporters across the state, and they are incredibly important messengers for all of the work that we are doing. These events are happening in places that we have local leagues. So we have 34 local leagues that are located around the state. So this is the grassroots advocacy in action. Our power is in our name. And I think, when people hear the League of Women Voters, they know who that is. But our members are why we have that name and why we have that power. And then during the tour, we're providing information about how to be a voter. So things like ID, which, like I mentioned, is a huge deal and can especially be a barrier for college students, as well as information about, what will be on their ballot and how those offices connect to what's going on in their lives. So for example, Ohio has 3 Supreme Court seats up for election this year, which, maybe you don't care until you hear that, oh, the Ohio Supreme Court has made decisions about things like civil rights, abortion access, and voting laws just in the last few years. This has also been, we didn't necessarily plan this, but it's been a really good place for us to directly address misinformation that students are hearing. And then throughout all this, we're doing social promotion. We're giving away swag like, stickers and buttons so that students themselves become amplifiers of a pro-voting message. And absolutely, again, swag is a place in which design is super important. So that's all I've got. We, like I said, we have more than 30 leagues across Ohio, and we're here to be resources for you as you all become leaders in the democracy space with us. So that's it.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And just a quick note, how ArtsVote Ohio is connecting directly with League of Women Voters. So if people are having events on the ground throughout the state, connecting artists and democracy, if you fill out our event form, which I'll show you a little bit later how to do that, and you want people to come out and help us help sign people up to vote, we'll be reaching out to the local League of Women Voters chapter. And later this month, we'll also have a list by county of nonpartisan organizations. So if artists want to hit the ground, we can connect you with those organizations. And again, League of Women Voters has 34 throughout the state. So they're our largest partner in that space. So thank you. And Sarah, let's talk about Creative Ohio and ArtsVote Ohio and what some of those detailed numbers that make it important for us to vote.
Yeah, thank you, Jill. Elizabeth, thank you. So using sort of the model that Elizabeth just illustrated, that has worked the League of Women Voters for over 100 years, the both education and advocacy piece, I want to share with you why Creative Ohio, our organization, that is the principal arts advocacy organization in the state, felt that it was important to team up with the Greater Columbus Arts Council right now to take that same model and really reach out in a peer-to-peer way to Ohio's creative sector. So not only do we want to use this platform to encourage voter turnout and engagement, but we too want to educate the creative sector about how and why their vote is important and how it impacts arts funding, excuse me, and the greater arts ecosystem within our state. So absolutely, like the League of Women Voters, we are a nonpartisan statewide effort, and that's important to us. We have several 501c3 organizations that are teaming up with us, and they can't participate in the electoral business, and so we absolutely want to stay nonpartisan. We also believe that arts funding within the state of Ohio is not a partisan issue. We've received some great bipartisan support for arts funding. Our goal is, again, great voter turnout of the creative sector, because when we work in coalition and enforce as creatives, we are a force in the state of Ohio. We're over 157,000 strong. And we'll show a couple more stats here, which are also available on the ArtsVote Ohio website, that share just how much of an impact we have as a sector in the state. Next slide, Jill. So at Creative Ohio, our mission, long game, is to make sure that the creative sector really understands that collective power that they have, and that they can fully grab their seat at the table when it comes to affecting legislative and policy changes and funding for arts and culture within the state of Ohio. So to that end, we feel like entry level in the engagement in the democratic process, entry level engagement absolutely looks like voting. And so we want to encourage strong voter turnout of our creatives. Next slide. So here are some of the stats that we've talked about. Not only do we number more than 157,000 in the state of Ohio as creatives, but the economic impact of the creative sector within Ohio is more than 3% of the state's GDP. This is a stat that we want the creative sector to know and own, because that impact is greater, it's larger than both education and agriculture in Ohio. So again, if we can act in coalition and force and fully grab our seat at the table, we can really affect change. Okay, next slide. And to that end, we have included this infographic. Oops, if you want to go back one, Jill, that is available for you on the ArtsVote Ohio website, that shares a little bit more about how you can sort of follow the money trail of arts funding within our country, state, and locally, so that you understand that your vote at each one of those levels, federal, state, local, does make a difference in terms of incubating and supporting arts and culture within our country and within the state of Ohio and your local community. So this is definitely a tool you'll want to take a look at on artsvoteohio.org. And in just a moment, Jill is going to share, sort of walk you through that website and what's available to you. I just want to say that we also learned from League of Women Voters and several other important, prominent, nonpartisan organizations that have been in this work for some time, that the most effective way that we can compel people to get to the polls is through peer-to-peer messaging. And so to that end, we used and are using the original artwork and voices of Ohio artists to further compel Ohio artists and creatives to get to the polls. So what Jill's going to show you is some great original artwork that we've aggregated on the site that you can use, share, disperse, as well as some first-person accounts, some narratives from arts leaders throughout the state sharing why this is so important to them. And we're really excited about being able to share that messaging. So, this is probably a good place, Jill, for me to also talk about maybe these two tangent projects that have come up. Okay, so Morgan mentioned the work of Shepard Fairey and what an important role that has played in the national campaign at Arts Action Fund and ArtsVote. We're so excited to be able to share that, again, working in collaboration and coalition with several partners throughout the state. We are bringing Shepard Fairey as a collective to Ohio next week. He is internationally renowned, typically known as, I think, probably the most renowned street artist in the world. And he will be doing a permanent mural and several wheat paste murals in the city of Cincinnati at the beginning of next week. All of the artwork that he'll be doing within the state of Ohio during his week-long road tour with his studio, with his team, will be themed around voter engagement, all nonpartisan work. So a beautiful original permanent mural in the Over the Rhine neighborhood in Cincinnati, the wheat paste murals in Cincinnati. We'll be doing a community conversation with him, a Q&A at the Contemporary Art Center in Cincinnati on September 17th, which happens to be National Voter Registration Day. We are teaming up with League of Women Voters in Cincinnati and our partners there, Artworks and ArtsWave. And there will be volunteers on site with Shepard's team while he's doing some of the mural install to register voters on site. And then he and his team will move up the road a little bit and hit Columbus later in the week. On the 19th, they will be installing several wheat paste murals, again, with beautiful artwork of Shepard's that talk about voter engagement throughout the city of Columbus, thanks to the Greater Columbus Arts Council. There will definitely be media and press surrounding him. We hope that you might have the opportunity, if you're in one of those cities, to take a look, to catch his team as they're doing some of this install. And Shepard, obviously, as an individual, as an artist, feels really strongly about this work. He was excited to be in Ohio specifically to do this work around voter engagement. And we're very happy to have his not only beautiful artwork, but his voice and name recognition associated with this effort. But we also wanted to make sure that we continue to lift up the work and voices of Ohio artists, since what really spurred this entire idea for ArtsVote Ohio was engaging Ohio artists. So we are also doing a yard sign project, and we hope to have those yard signs available perhaps at the end of next week, but more than likely the following week. We have gathered 3 original pieces of art from 3 different artists in each Dayton, Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati. And again, nonpartisan artwork just themed around voting and voter engagement. And we're producing yard signs with the ArtsVote Ohio URL and message on those signs with the original art, and they will be free and available for distribution in those major metropolitan areas that I listed, and hopefully in some other areas throughout the state. And thanks to the Greater Columbus Arts Council and the Charles Kettering Foundation in Dayton for helping to fund that project. Just another way that we can really get out the voices, artwork, and message to all of Ohio's creatives. Now, Jill, walk us through the site. You're still muted.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah. I'm gonna jump out of this and show you our website. So do you guys see the website here? Okay, I just want to show you a few areas of the site that might be relevant to you as creatives, and just want to thank you for your time on this. So I'll run shortly, and then Cal will take over, and we want to have some conversations with you on how we can hit the ground in Ohio. So as Sarah mentioned, we have collected artwork from artists throughout the state. And that's featured here as well as down here. We're calling that Creativity for Democracy. So we are continuing to collect two-dimensional pieces of artwork from creatives throughout the state until September 30th. Those the artists whose work are selected will receive $100 stipend, courtesy of Greater Columbus Arts Council. So all of these pieces are available to download and utilize in the messaging that you might be putting out to your networks. And we're constantly creating new graphics as well, and we'll show you that. But some of the messaging, yesterday on Here and Now, Anthony Scaramucci, who's the former communications director for Donald Trump, said that the national presidential election is going to be, he's predicting it's going to be down to 150,000 votes. And if you might remember Sarah saying that there's 157,000 creatives in Ohio, I think that that type of messaging is going to be really important as we look to reach out to our peers and creatives. So just, though that will be a message that we'll be putting out here soon, 157,000, like we can be the difference when we're voting. And so that messaging and these graphics are all available on our toolkit. So we've got downloadables, talking points, social media. So our talking points here, these are going to be, this is a PDF of just the high end, some of the things that Sarah mentioned already, but that, we're a $25 billion industry, that the creative sector is, that we represent more than 3% of the state's domestic product. So more than utilities, education, agriculture. I think in encouraging and educating fellow artists and creative, this information is important. I think every artist I talk to, when I let them know that like we're bigger than agriculture, like they're surprised. And so that matters. It matters when we go to the polls to vote. So we've got all these talking points there. We have stuff for social. So if you want to put a filter on your Facebook or LinkedIn profile, we have that there. Social media banners, so putting items up on X, Facebook, LinkedIn, Threads, wherever you are. Those are all downloadable from the social stuff. All creatives on deck. This will change in our next meeting. When we have it, we'll be up here. Event support. So if you want to host an event, and there are several happening, there are several more happening, we have everything you need for the event. So first off, we have a form, and this is how ArtsVote Ohio will be helping you. You'll tell us about the event. We're going to put and we're continuing to put all events around the creative sector and democracy up on our site. You can look at it right now, and I'll show it to you in a second. But we're offering, let us know whether you want Sarah to speak. If you need ArtsVote Ohio stickers and buttons, we have them. Do you need voter registration volunteers or stations? Let us know, and we'll reach out again to the League of Women Voters or people in your neck of the woods who can help provide that information. And then, you can take a look at some of the events that we have coming up. The Gateway Film Center in Columbus had a watch party for the debate last on Tuesday, but these are sort of all of the ones coming up. We have some things happening in Dayton. We have lots of events for National Voter Registration Day. And so, we're collecting details about events, and please, if you know of events, let us know, so we can help resource you. We do have curtain statements. So for things like live theater presentations, your band's playing, we have details there. We have logos. Again, we have all of the art that is available from artists. We have branded shareables. So if you want to just vote your heart out, if you want to share that on your social media, every sort of graphic that you would want are all available here. And when we use local artists, we do ask that you put their information on there. And then anything that you share, we ask that you use the hashtag ArtsVote Ohio. If you want to partner with us officially, we have details for announcing a partnership. We do have details about nonprofits and advocacy. So if you are with a nonprofit and are concerned about what you're allowed to do, that's there. Funding trail, we have the trail map that Sarah just shared earlier, and details about how that looks out in Ohio, so you can help educate your colleagues and peers. And then maybe by the end of today, we'll actually have a chance to order ArtsVote Ohio swag. The full set of downloadables are all here. And again, we're collecting more of those from until September 30th. So this is all being up to date, but you'll have the name, the best place to find the artist's work, and then where they're from. So if Piqua, Akron, Cincinnati, Columbus, Cleveland, from all over the state, we're collecting. And then news and voices. We've got, again, the events part of the site. You can see events coming up. We have advocates. So if you want to be an advocate, there's a place on Get Involved to fill out the form and tell us who you are. And all of the artists who are involved with us have the opportunity to put their bio up on the site. So Nasli Brush from Columbus shared her stuff. We have our Instagram, we have our website. So we do want to promote the artists who are working with us. And then are we done now? News, just updated events. So, Ohio's art scene is massive, and now it's flexing its voting power. So there's news about us, but also new rules for voter assistance in general election. We've got our press release, the Ohio history, and the Ohio voter fact sheet is right here. And then voices is the last part. This is another place where we're collecting the voices of Ohio artists and creatives. So we've been working with partners throughout the state, and we have so many more that aren't even posted, but like Ohio's poet laureate, Carrie Gunter Seymour, is writing about an artist's view from rural Ohio and why voting should matter. So all of these are sort of essays around the idea and the topics in regard to democracy and creativity. So this is also something where we're paying $100 thanks to GCAC, but we are collecting voices from folks throughout the state, filmmakers. If you know people who are very passionate and creative and whose voices would matter, and they'd be able to put together something for us, that would be great. I am now going to stop sharing my screen and well, you're missing the screen. Sorry, let me share. We want to see Cal's name. So I'll share my screen so you can see Cal's name. And then Cal, if you can.
All right, thank you. I'm always so impressed at how much that the ArtsVote Ohio website has. I feel like I could just live in there for a while to discover all the new things. It's amazing. Thank you so much, Jill. So My name is Kilcanyo Cullen. I go by Cal. I'm a social practice artist. So my work is really dedicated to collaborating with communities, fostering civic engagement, doing community development through collaborative asset-based practices. And I have a long history of doing get out the vote efforts through artistic engagement. And my day job is at the Hale Foundation, which is also focused on supporting artists and arts organizations throughout the Cincinnati region, specifically focused on ways in which to amplify and integrate the voices of artists into all aspects of society. So that all that to say is that voter engagement and getting folks to the polls is really close to my heart. So I'm really happy to be helping lend a hand to this effort. So with the time that we have left, I wanted to do a little bit of, again, in the spirit of collaboration, a little bit of brainstorming with you all to see how we can get more artists involved, more creatives and arts organizations integrated into this effort to really get out the vote. So I'm going to share in the comments and let's see, I think I can share my screen. Yep, let's do it. Can you all see that? Yeah?
Yep.
So I created a little Mentimeter, and we're just going to do 2 quick questions. The first is, how can we best utilize these toolkits? Again, this like insanely expansive resource that that Jill and team have created to encourage artists to vote. And I had to even expand that to not just artists, but to just get out the vote in general. But there's so many great resources. So if you click on the link that I just shared in the chat, you should be prompted to enter some phrases, some ideas, and I think you can enter up to 3. So I'll give you all a couple minutes to do that, and we'll see what we come up with. Awesome. These are great. You can keep adding, but I wanted to open it up if anyone would like to. Oh, I love host a house party. If anyone would like to expand on their idea a little bit for the group and talk about, because I see home party a couple times, like, is there a way that these tools, is that something that ArtsVote Ohio could assist with? And could there be like a home party toolkit, or like, I don't know, does anyone want to speak to that one in particular?
Jill, do you want to share a little bit more? So we've kind of been thinking along those lines, right? As we've been developing these resources, and there are still a few forthcoming. One thing that we're working on is, and this was, I think, Jill's brainchild and her baby, but postcard parties. So we are going to be printing a mass quantity of postcards with some of the original art that we've collected. And we will send you a kit of postcards that you can get together with like-minded friends and have a party at your house and write postcards encouraging others that you send out, encouraging others to vote, and they'll have beautiful artwork on them. And we do have an event kit that we could send out for a private party. Jill, you want to add to that?
Yeah. So we're right now working to get 3 different postcards printed. And the idea is that wherever you are, we would if you're in Cincinnati, we might reach out to a local arts organization there and they can be a partner. And so we can work with that organization to provide a list of artists so that it's Cincinnati artists and creatives writing postcards to Cincinnati artists and creatives. You know, I see some Columbus folks in here, you know, I think like organization about like Wild Goose Creative, like, you know, can someone host a party and you know, just write notes to people. It's nice to get like good mail. And you know, we're looking at artwork that you might want to keep and hang up and put in your space. So I'd love to hear from whoever talked about house parties and if that's what you were thinking. We have like artists are so shy. So are you guys?
Anyone else want to share about their idea or what might be useful?
I'm sitting like in a pile of ArtsVote Ohio swag right now. But some of the things that we can send you, we do have many stickers and many forms. We have many buttons and many forms. Again, if you just complete on the website, if you just complete the event form, we can send you an event ticket or event package with these kind of items that you can pass out to friends or to your constituents if you're with an organization. We're happy to do that. Just wanted to hold those out. I also would be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity, because she's on the call, to thank profusely Cappy Kilburn with the Human Race Theater in Dayton for her engagement in this work and for helping us to bring on board a great designer, Billy Peak with Jinx, who has helped us to create more of this brand. These really cool items that you'll be able to purchase individually if you want the swag, but also things that we can send out and just continue to amplify the message. So shout out to Cappy. I see you on the call.
Sarah, Elizabeth also had a question in the chat about the postcards, who you would be sending these to. Would this kind of be a thing on the website that we could request?
Yeah, am I still on? Yeah, so when we have the postcards in place, you will be able to sort of order a postcard party. So we'd work with you, determine how big your mailing list is. And right now we're thinking like whoever's hosting the party could cover postage. I don't know what you guys think, folks. We cover the postcards. You guys provide the people. We'll have suggestions for things to write and then can send them out to the mailing lists.
Would
Provide
they be
Arts Walk.
utilizing like the artwork that's been submitted on ArtsVote Ohio, or more the like logo kind of swag that Sarah was just sharing?
It would be artwork. So right now we're just trying to determine which pieces, but I know for certain I'll paste it in the corner. I know we've decided on one piece for sure. I'll post it in the, or I'll put it in the chat. But we want to make sure that we have folks from around Ohio. So we do want that to happen. But
I don't know how the other artists on this call feel about this, but I, for one, would love to have space to also draw like even blank postcards, you know, because I like the idea of if there are creatives coming together, you know, we can customize them.
The idea of having something that artists can use from us, like a little notepad or something, like with the brand.
Yeah.
If that would make sense.
That's a really cool idea. I think what we're looking at right now is large format postcards. They'll be like 6 by 9 inches. And there will be obviously the original artwork that we've collected on the front, but then there would, I think, be space on the back to, there'll be a little bit of text, but there would be some additional space. I love that idea.
It's a great image too. Thanks for sharing, Jill.
it'll be one of 3. We just have to get permission from the artists. So part of the process is, you know, we want to respect all the artists and what they've done and make sure that they've signed off for use and that they're getting they are getting stipends for their work. So
Well, we have one more question we wanted to cover. How can we further support you in reaching your peers? So, how, like, and this I think goes hand in hand with, can we have more of these meetings? Should we have more of these meetings? How can we get more people to these meetings? And then how can we, continue to get more artists involved in this process? So if you take a minute, fill that out.
Yeah, and while you all are thinking about that, I'll just add as a personal appeal on behalf of the organizations that have put a great deal of time into this, Creative Ohio, Greater Columbus Arts Council, Human Race Theater, many, many others. We're really at this point looking to enhance the grassroots momentum and the engagement of individual artists and creatives. And to that end, we really need your help. Because I know for my organization, we have great connectivity and a great network of organizations, of arts organizations and nonprofits, but our outreach, at a more granular level to individual artists is not as great. And so really looking forward to your answers here and any thoughts you have on further sharing this information with artists. And right away, I'm seeing another meeting after 5.
Yeah, I think particularly as it relates to artists, I think that's going to be really, really important.
Okay.
Hi, sorry to interrupt. My name is Ryan. I'm the art director at Columbus College of Art and Design. I submitted a thing, but it's not going through for some reason. So Jill mentioned Wild Goose Creative earlier. I think it'd be an interesting idea to have a physical headquarter in some of these arts organizations spaces. The idea of having an event is great, but you're only reaching the people that go to those events, where if you have almost like residence hours at places like Wild Goose, there's a lot of circulation, and I feel like you end up meeting a lot more faces when you're, let yourself expand beyond a 2-hour window.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I also am looking at Morgan made, I guess, sort of a similar comment that across the country, she's seeing that some storefronts, just some more visibility in like physical spaces. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Someone did write a draft social text, and we do have that in the toolkit. I'm thinking our toolkit might be a little overwhelming, and we should clean it up and make it easier for you guys to find what you need. So, but yeah, we do have social text that's really simple on there. But also in my experience, your voice is going to be better in your community and in your network than reciting something we say. So
are there any other thoughts or comments or people who can't submit on the thing that want to say? Thank you, Ryan.
This is Cappy real quick because I'm on my phone and can't figure out how to do tech. At the Human Race, we're doing toolkits. We have our first rehearsal for the season starts Monday, so we're doing toolkits and getting those to the artists to be able to take back to their colleagues and friends and their areas. But we are always happy to host any of the postcard parties, any of those kinds of things here at the theater. We are actually working with our local chapter of League of Women Voters to get voter guides and all of sort of the artwork and toolkit information in our lobby, because our show runs through October. So we'll be using the lobby in the theater here. Happy to coordinate with other artists and organizations to host things here.
That's so great, Cappy. Very cool.
Okay, well, I think I'll stop sharing the screen if I can figure out how to do that. Thank you all for participating.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. And I'll follow up with just some details from this meeting. But I'd also love to get your thoughts on like what you would like to see in a future meeting. Like, is there a way to do some creative brainstorming? How how could we engage with more creatives in your community? And that sort of thing. So if you would like, you can email me directly as well. But we really appreciate your time. And yeah, thank you guys so much. And thank you to the speakers. So,
Thank you. Thank you, Cal, for facilitating. Much appreciated.
cool.
Thank you to y'all for all the work you've done. You guys were amazing.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Kathy. You
everyone.
too. Thank you. Have a great afternoon. Thanks.